All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Persian and the Cowboy podcast.
We're back, baby.
As always, he's the Persian, I'm the Cowboy. Thank you for bearing with us while we were trying to figure out our technical issues. My computer decided to take a crap on us, so we had to go and make a new investment on a new MacBook Air that we are recording on. So thank you guys for your patience. And Mr. Persian, I think we're revisiting our favorite subject. Is that China?
We have to, let me just say this. We have to fucking have these laptops made in America and not in China, where some 5-year-old boy in China or girl is being enslaved by the fucking corporations to make this fucking laptop for like $1, okay? And then you sell it in America for like $1,300, $1,400. This shit should be made in America, dude. That way we don't have these fucking problems. Your laptop just died magically. And it took like 2-3 weeks to get this bad boy fixed. We had to get a new one, whatever. But in the end, I'm happy that everything got resolved. Folks, thank you again for bearing with us. We are back in business, but this is why we should make these products in America and bring the manufacturing jobs back to America.
Yeah. So how about we back up a little bit and talk a little bit more about China in general?
Yeah,
what
kick
have they
it
been
off,
up to?
kick it
There's
off.
been some sneaky things happening. What are some of your favorite ones you've been seeing?
Well, just about a few weeks ago, I want to say 3 to 4 weeks ago, China and Cuba, they've had great relations for a long time, for decades, but they recently made another investment, billions of dollars in Cuba, but they also are building a satellite facility, okay, a military facility in Cuba, which Cuba is 90 miles away from Florida. Okay, Cuba is 90 miles away from Florida, from Miami, and China is building a military installation, which is a spy satellite facility, so they can, intercept communications and things of that nature, and also a military facility. That is a big red flag. That is a huge problem.
Well, I don't see it being as that big of a problem. I mean, countries are spying on each other all the damn
Yeah,
time.
that's a given. But China has been investing billions and billions of dollars in various parts of the world, okay? In Asia, in various countries, in Africa, in the Middle East recently, in South America, in Central America, and in parts of Europe, because they want to expand their influence. It's a very smart move on their part, because if they want to become the next great superpower, they are putting the roadblocks and the foundation for that to happen. However, this is more of a threat because this is so close to the United States. This is only 90 miles away from our shores in Key West and Miami. This is so close to Florida. This is a big threat. This is basically like the Soviets parking nukes in Cuba and pointing it right at us 90 miles away is Florida.
I mean,
it's a big threat.
It's more like a guy with a giant microphone. It's not like they.
But this is a start. This is a start.
Yeah, I mean, but like, it's not like they can't just fly a weather balloon over the country and just sit on top of our military bases.
Well,
and
I mean, they
listen in
did
for
that.
a week.
Yeah, they did that. Which, by the way, if Trump was president, Trump would have shot that down over U.S. airspace. Which I have no problem with that. I wouldn't have waited a fucking week for this stupid balloon to be like floating through all of our airspace and taking pictures and whatever of military installations. But this is a major threat, and I think America needs to respond. And the way I would respond if I was president were to send troops to Taiwan, additional military personnel and troops to Taiwan, because we are at war with China, ladies and gentlemen. We are at war with China, and this is a game of chess, not checkers. This is chess, okay? China has built military. I mean, right now, China is building a military installation in the country of Djibouti in Eastern Africa, very close to our naval installation in Djibouti. So China is doing the same thing. China is making huge land investments in Africa and giving out loans to second and third world countries in different parts of the world, which they know that these countries can't pay back these loans, and in exchange, they'll take over the land, where they want it. They're going to take over the land and build military installations or take over natural resources in those countries. They're establishing shop. They're setting up shop in different countries, and they're doing it very smartly and right underneath our noses. I mean, the Biden administration, who's in bed with China, we all know that. The $41 million that Biden basically won for his family from China with various business interests through his son, Hunter, his disgraced crackhead son, Hunter Biden.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. But the Biden administration is very friendly with China. They have deals with China. Biden has had a fascination with China for decades. When he was vice president, he secured many deals with China, 10% for the big guy. So there's a relationship there, because if any other person was president, they would be alarmed by this move by China being so close to the United States with this military installation that they're building in Cuba.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that it's that big of an issue. I think this is something that countries are always doing around the clock with each other, is trying to spy, trying to gather intelligence. And I just hope that we already have the correct counterintelligence setups for this. It's like, why? I struggle to see what they're able to learn about the United States from Cuba that they can't already learn about just from like spy satellites that they have going overhead and stuff. So,
I mean, look, like you said earlier in this episode, every country spies on each other. Even allies spy on each other for various reasons, to gather intelligence, to gather data, to see what the other country's doing, to see what their technologies are up to see what they're building in their countries. But at the end of the day, China's not just a military adversary. They're an economic adversary. They're the second biggest economy in the world, and they may have already surpassed the United States. I don't know. I don't know for a fact, but they are approaching the number one spot. And they are making moves. Xi Jinping, who is a populist president, a nationalistic president in China, has done, and I hate to give these people credit, okay? I am not a fan of the Chinese government. I like the Chinese people, but not the government, okay? This guy is trying to make China into an empire again. He is trying to spread their influence throughout the world, throughout various countries. I mean, just this year, something very abnormal happened in the Middle East region. China, so they can get access to the Persian Gulf, to oil reserves, and to natural gas, they sat down two regional adversaries, Iran and Saudi Arabia. Iran and Saudi Arabia, since the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran, hate each other, okay? They hate each other. They're two regional powers. They are terrified of one another, and they are fighting each other in the Middle East in different countries through different proxy groups. It's a Cold War going on in the Middle East. China, however, because of their own interests, said, hey, you guys need to man the fuck up, get along, because America is on the downfall. I'm the new big boy on campus, and I'm going to make both of you a deal, and everything's going to be cool. So they sat down as an intermediary and with both these countries, and they made them sign a peace deal and kind of hush the tensions. That's a big thing. You know how much shit the United States gives to Saudi Arabia on a regular? Who do you think found the oil for Saudi Arabia, folks? It was the United States and the West. They built up their oil industry and whatever. Obviously, it wasn't they don't care about the Saudis. They did it for their own, capitalistic agenda to make money off this. But when you have your biggest ally in the Middle East region, one of your biggest allies in the Middle East region in Saudi Arabia, start joining forces with China, that's a big problem. And then you have your other adversary, Iran, now becoming friends with Saudi Arabia. What the fuck is going on?
I don't believe it. I think they're natural enemies, and as soon as China's influence wanes from there, then they're going to go back to being competitive with each other. And so, that whole region is wealthy because of oil exports. And if there's a major war in the Persian Gulf, then their income goes away. So they have a mutual need for peace to be in that area.
Right.
So I think it's a natural thing for China to want to do it, because they need the oil that comes out of there the most.
They need the access.
They have the most to lose if that does close up, because then they're gone and it's game over from there. But one thing you said though about Xi doing a good job, which I don't think he is doing a good job. He's securing his power and he's ruling with an iron fist, which is I know you like that in your leaders.
I love ruling with an iron fist.
The iron fist leaders. So, but the other thing though is he's removed everyone that's competent around him that could be a threat to take over his power. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want competent people. He wants people that he can control and that are 100% loyal to him. Mm-hmm. And so he's shot the messengers so many times that no one wants to deliver him any good news, bad news, or anything that might freak him out.
Well, he's a
little bit.
dictator. That's what dictators do.
Exactly, and so I think that's what is lining China up, though, for a lot of blind spots that are going to be hitting them in their ways too.
I mean, just like any country, any major power, there are hiccups in the road. But again, I am the least person who likes the Chinese government. I hate the Chinese government. Okay, they're an enemy of the United States. Okay?
Says the guy that just loves rolling with an iron fist, though.
I mean, if you want to be a good leader, you want to get shit done, you have to rule with an iron fist, okay? Because a lot of these guys that we have in power in various countries, and but look at Biden. The guy can't even talk. The guy can't even move. He's falling off bikes and shit, okay? And you look at Europe, Europeans are worthless. But at the end of the day, you look at what China's doing, they are, building up infrastructure in various countries around the world because they're putting their ownership stamp on it. They're giving out loans to various countries who they know they can't pay back, like second and third world countries. And instead, in exchange, if they can't pay it back, they're like, okay, fuck it. We're going to take over their land. We're going to set up shop. We're going to build a military base. We're going to build a military installation and set up shop there. I mean, they are spending so much money on their military infrastructure right now, from submarines to newer technologies, stealth fighters, aircraft carriers, new generation. It's a major, major red flag. I mean, you have key generals in the American military who are worried about this for the next 10, 20 years. I said, dude, this is a major problem. We have to keep up. Now is not the time to cut military budgets, because I know Democrats love to cut the military budget. They're like, yeah, we have to cut it. Now is not the time to cut anything. Now is the time to actually increase spending on the military, if anything, and to come up with newer technologies and the next generation of fighters and warships and weapons. So we have to be on alert, and we eventually, I hate to say it, but with the situation we have in the Middle East that's ongoing and it's eroding, Russia is not a threat, in my opinion. Russia has been weakened, and we'll get into Russia really quick. I'm more worried about China, and I think we as a country need to somehow make it a law to bring back 2 years of mandatory military service for every man and woman to serve 2 years in the armed forces, okay, and to expand the military size, because we have a lot of problems, and China's only going to become a bigger threat. The Taiwan situation has not simmered down whatsoever. There are still military drills going on off their coast. Taiwan has said, we need American troops, we need American funding, we need American help that they're giving to Ukraine. We need the same situation because China's going to invade one day. They don't give a flying fuck. And because all the American companies, all the companies of the world, they do their manufacturing with China. So if China decides to invade Taiwan, are all the companies going to say, fuck it, we're going to take all of our manufacturing back to our ancestral homelands? I don't think so, because all these companies are trying to make a profit. They don't care if China invades Taiwan. I don't even think the United States under the Biden administration would even do anything if China attacked Taiwan, because the Biden administration is so in bed with China and they're so weak that they wouldn't do anything.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said there. And I want to bring it back to government spending on the military at first. Yeah. So I agree with you that we need to keep investing in our military and researching new technologies that are always going to keep us on that cutting edge and superior to our enemies when it comes to military, right? But I also think there is room for us to dial back the military industrial complex and get rid of the perpetual wars that we're just constantly in just because we want to keep making money off of our military.
That's 100% accurate. Yeah. 100% I agree with you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that really quick. But then I want to move back to China, which is our main focus of this episode, and talk about their demographics. Because you're talking about their manufacturing is so strong, everyone builds everything there, and there's no way that we're going to be able to bring that back home. So one thing I looked up was that the Chinese government, and their inability to tell their supreme leader any bad news, recently came out with that they overcounted their population under 45 years old by over 100 million. Off by over 100
That's a lot.
million people.
Who fucked up on that? And somebody fucked up.
Most of them are women. So that means that they do not have a large reproduction force underneath.
Well,
them.
you can thank the one-child policy for that.
Exactly, yeah. So a lot of that has been just terrible for it. And then also the bias towards men in their culture. They wanted sons to have everything. So there's a huge overpopulation of men, not enough women for all of them, and not enough young people to take care of all the old people that are in their country.
Yeah.
So they're in a lot of trouble when it comes to that. And so if that's the case, and they did overcount by 100 million people, then India became the most populous country a decade ago.
Oh yeah, they have a lot of people and they're growing too.
A huge
Because there's
yeah.
no law in India. This whole one-child policy bullshit. Not that I know of, but there isn't any fucking law.
And so the other thing is the Chinese government is hostile and unpredictable, right? They're always going to have Chinese main interests out before trying to help out a foreign company that just wants to come over and make some goods there, right?
It's all interest. They don't give a fuck about anybody.
That's an issue. But the other issue is if they're running out of young people, that is the cheap young labor force, right? That they don't have enough of. And so they're not going to be able to replace all of the workers that they have in existence right now. There's a huge wave that are about to hit retirement and not be able to work anymore. So they don't have the young people to come in and take that up. That means that the cost of labor in China is about to shoot way up too, and it's getting more and more expensive as it is too.
That's a true fact. And actually, why do you think that a lot of labor is now going to Mexico?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Mexican labor is cheaper and more skilled than Chinese labor is.
And
right
you
now.
don't. And with shipping and logistics,
Oh yeah, we're right here. United
You're
States.
right here.
The
You
market's
just
right
ship
here.
everything
The
through the
manufacturing's
border.
right there. North
That's
America
it.
is set. We got
Yeah.
Canada with some trees up there and some maple syrup, and then we got Mexico, and we're good to go. But that's the problem though. So companies got the writing on the wall. They have these billions of dollars sunk into these factoring plants factories in China. Are they going to pull the plug and just say, "Yep, it's a sunk cost," and now we got to move back to Mexico? Or how long are they going to be able to keep it going? How long is it going to take the Chinese labor prices to increase before it makes sense to get out of there? So I think it's happening sooner than later. I think all of China's little moves they're doing right now of trying to get oil secure and the stuff they've been doing with Russia and keeping buddy with them, I think it's all just a stall. I think it's all a play. I think this is the beginning of the end for China, and they're going to be going down very soon.
I hope it's the beginning of the end for China. But let me just say this. I think throughout the world, but mainly for the United States, because I only care about the United States since I'm an American and I live in the United States, but America needs to bring back the manufacturing that is done overseas, especially in China, back to the United States. We need to have a nationalist president with populist type ideas, an American first agenda that will bring back manufacturing jobs to America, whether that's in the automobile industry, the tech industry, the clean energy sector. I don't care, because the American worker needs to be trained, and we need to bring back the manufacturing to the United States to improve our economy and to have the stamp of Made in America. Because let me tell you, folks, the Made in America stamp on a product has a big difference for people. It doesn't matter. I get it. People are like, well, cost of goods is going to go up. If you bring manufacturing back, the product will be, 10 times the number that it was made in China. Like this iPhone, okay, if made in America, will be double, triple the price. But Americans will pay if they know that it was purchased in America. It's a patriot thing, it's a pride thing, and it's a loyalty thing. They will pay it. If they have to go on some sort of credit plan, they'll do it. If they have to go on some sort of prepaid plan, they'll do it. But a lot of this stuff can be made in America. We have empty space in this country. We have eroded plants in the Rust Belt, in Wisconsin, Minnesota, the Dakotas, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, in the further down the Midwest, in Missouri. If you want to go down to Texas, you have Florida, Alabama, Mississippi. Then you have Georgia. You have Tennessee. You can make manufacturing plants in these various states and bring back the jobs to America to manufacture the product in America, and the U.S. needs to start doing that. I know the foundation started under the Trump administration with certain companies, but they need to start doing that because we cannot afford to make another China. We made China, we, the United States, made China very powerful. China was nothing in the 80s and early 90s. They only became strong because our companies, to make a profit, additional profits, sent all their manufacturing overseas to China in various industries so they could make quadruple profit for their shareholders and for themselves. And in exchange, China made a boatload of money and modernized itself and built a massive infrastructure. We basically spread our legs open for China because we wanted more money in our pockets.
Yep. And now the only thing we have to do to take them down is
to bring that shit back.
Yeah, just go home.
And I don't want to make Mexico into the next China, where Mexico is going to industrialize itself and make itself powerful because we're putting money in their pockets to make various products. Like, there is no reason why the laptop that you bought should be made in a foreign country. It should be made in the United States.
I'm okay with the markets deciding where things are made. My main concern is just that. Who's the money going to? Is it going to a corrupt government that is enslaving their people and not giving them their workers any rights? That's a big deal to me. But and Mexico has its own problems and everything with
it's a very corrupt country.
Yeah. So it's one of those things like I want supply and demand to dictate where things are made. And at this rate, China is going to be increasing their labor costs just because they don't have enough laborers to maintain their current output. So that means things from China are going to start getting more expensive. It looks like Mexico is the next one up on deck, where it's going to be way more affordable and cheaper. But I also like that, it's not that far from the United States. That's kind of
it's good for logistics.
Baby step to kind of bring it back maybe a little bit more.
It's good for logistics. Yeah. However, I will say that, like, these products, right? Like we talk about a lot of different things. There are so many unemployed people in this country still who, if trained appropriately, if educated appropriately, will work in those manufacturing plants to manufacture the product. I mean, you look at a state like West Virginia. West Virginia had the coal industry for a long time, right? Big energy powerhouse. And then when all that shit died down, West Virginia literally looks like an apocalyptic area. Like, all these plants look fucked up. Like, you know what you could do if you bring back manufacturing to America? You could make West Virginia into a manufacturing powerhouse again. Open up these plants again. Train these workers. Train the next generation of workers in that state. I'm not saying the whole state it looks like shambles, but it was hit hard when a lot of these coal mines and stuff shut down. A lot of these manufacturing plants over there shut down from the past 60, 70 years ago. So, I mean, you look at the automobile industry, like, there's no point why a Ford should have some of its parts made overseas. Bring that shit back to America. Why not? You're going to hire new workers. American made. Done.
Yeah. So I agree with a lot of that. And I want to kind of introduce a new segment where we talk about some statistics here.
All right, bring the statistics. I know you're a stat guy. Bring it in.
I'm very curious, if Mr. Persian over here can guess who the top 5 most charitable nations are in the world, according to the World Giving Index.
Are you talking about giving weapons to countries so they can kill themselves, or are you talking about charity like food?
I'm talking about, this is done by polling, where they reach out to the citizens themselves, not the governments, the citizens, and ask them, hey, have you helped a stranger recently? Have you donated to charity?
I don't help homeless or strangers. I don't.
Are you? Yeah. But are you volunteering your time? So, like, those are the 3 basic rubrics they use, and go from there. So,
sure.
Who do you think the top 5 were between 2009 and 2018 on average, that decade right there?
Okay, do you want me to start from go from 5 and up, right?
Yeah, 5 and up, but you're going to be doing
I'm going to go the United States.
The United States is on that list. They are number 1.
Of course, because we give everybody fucking aid all the time, all these countries. We, the taxpayers, are paying for the aid that's going to Africa or Asia or the Middle East or Central and South America. It's coming out of our paycheck.
This is a rubric of the citizens' response, not the government's, too.
Okay,
so,
well,
let's take it for us. Okay, all right. You got another one?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a European country. I'm gonna say France.
No, there's only one European country on the list.
England, Great Britain.
Nope.
Italy.
Nope.
Spain.
Nope.
Portugal.
Nope.
Sweden.
Nope.
Am I getting hot or cold?
You're getting cold. It's pretty cold over there.
Is the country cold? Give me a clue. Is it a cold country or is it a warm country?
I'd say it's boggy.
What the fuck is boggy?
I mean,
Oh my god.
it rains a lot.
It rains a lot. Okay, that gives me a
very
good clue.
green-
Germany.
Green place.
Germany.
No.
Is it in the Balkans?
No.
Damn. Is it in Southern Europe?
No.
Is it in the middle of Europe?
No.
Is it in the northern part of Europe?
Technically, yeah.
Iceland?
No.
Finland?
You're closer with Iceland, but
Greenland?
what's the closest country in Europe to Iceland? I think.
Greenland? Well, Greenland is a part of Denmark. I mean, but it can be whatever.
You ready for the answer?
Republic of Ireland?
The Republic of Ireland, number
Okay, there
5
we
on the
go.
list. There we
Republic
go. All
of
right.
Ireland. Okay, good.
We got 3 more.
Three more. One of them's an Asian country.
One of them I think is an Asian country, but that could be my ignorance in my own geography.
Is it in Oceania or is it in Asia? Australia.
Australia is number 4. Good job.
Yeah, there you go.
Number 3 is close to Australia.
It's close to Australia and it's an Asian country.
No, not an Asian country.
It's close to New Zealand?
New Zealand, number 3.
Yeah, there we go.
And number 2, I doubt you're going to guess it.
Okay, give me a clue. Is it in Central America or South America?
This is the Asian country.
Is it Asian India?
It's Myanmar.
Myanmar?
Yeah.
Myanmar's like a dictatorship. I can't believe this.
I know.
dude.
I don't know how the heck they got on that list right there.
Yeah, so I guessed all of them?
You guess that's the top 5. Yeah. So the list one more time. Ireland, number 5. Australia, number 4. New Zealand at number 3. Myanmar at number 2. And then number 1, the United States of
Who
America.
put this poll, dude? Why is Myanmar on that list? It doesn't make any sense, dude. Myanmar is a dictatorship. There's a lot of ill things happening in that country, a lot of genocide over the past decades.
Yeah, and so the list gets kind of crazier actually when you look at it from the 2022 year. So COVID shook everything up because everyone's money got all over the place and everything like that. So the 2022 list only has, I guess there's 3 countries that are still on the top 5.
I can guess them probably.
Yeah, so New Zealand's number 5, Australia at number 4. The United States, we dropped all the way down to number 3.
Really?
Crazy.
Well, I mean, we got a lot of shit. We have a lot of debt. We can't just keep paying for everybody's like fucking aid all the time.
I know, but guess who the top 2 countries are now? Myanmar is no longer in the top 5.
Is there an Asian country on that list?
Yes, there is an Asian country in the list.
South Korea,
Nope.
China,
Nope.
India.
Nope.
Up or down?
I'd say a little east and south.
A little east and south. Vietnam,
No.
Cambodia,
Nope.
Laos.
Nope.
Fuck.
Indonesia.
Indonesia?
Indonesia is number 1 on the list now. And then number 2, Kenya.
Kenya?
Yeah.
This is a stupid poll. Dude. This is a dumbass poll.
Okay, so then the next thing that really surprised me, and that's when I started getting a little suspicious too, was so I looked at the list and I was like, okay, Ukraine is number 10 on the list.
Dude, everybody's giving Ukraine aid right now so they can protect themselves from Russia, and it's working.
I know, so I was trying to think
How
about
the
that.
fuck are they giving aid right now?
So I went back to the list, and so in 2022, they're number 10. If you go back from the average of 2009 to 2018, Ukraine drops all the way down to 101st in the ranking. And they just jumped up to 10th this last year in 2022. So the thing that I thought was crazy is the polling when it came back for helping a stranger, they were 35% responded that yes, they helped strangers out between 2008 and 2019. But in 2022, that number jumped all the way up to 75% of people saying yes, they help strangers, which makes sense for a war-torn country.
Yeah,
to actually
because
have
I
that
mean,
increase.
everybody's helping them out. They got to help people out too. You know, you can't just give.
Yeah.
You can't just get and not give. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this was based on aid.
No, this is not based on government aid. This is
Okay.
based on the individual citizens responding to polling questions. Yes.
Yeah, this is a fake news poll. These are fake numbers. Fake news poll.
That the United States is number 1 on. But anyways,
That was a very interesting poll right there.
that's the fun little side note I noticed from that. But yeah. So, anything else you have on China that you'd like to say before we get things wrapped
I mean,
up?
I think to wrap this segment up about China, I mean, this has been a very popular topic for us. I mean, they're always in the news and everything, but again, this military facility, which is a spy facility, it's like a satellite facility for spying activities in an adversary's country in Cuba. Cuba, 90 miles away from Florida. This is a big, big problem because what if that facility is not just used for spying? What if they decide to build an airstrip? What if eventually they want to build a naval base, kind of like Guantanamo, but for China?
Yeah.
You know, and then they're going to start parking submarines there. They're going to start parking aircraft carriers there in the future. What if they start placing missiles there? What if you have the second Cuban Missile Crisis? Or what if they say, you know what? We want to place a couple nukes in Cuba. And we also have personnel in Cuba, Guantanamo Bay. So this is like... This is just a complete game of chess. So right now, nobody is really winning this Cold War with China. America may have the upper hand in many different aspects, but China also has the upper hand in many different areas too, with the investments they're making in various continents and various countries in second and third world nations. We are getting, the drumbeat of war is getting closer and closer and closer with China. By the next decade, okay, by the 23rd decade, we will have a full-scale potential war with China. And the problem is both countries, we, the United States, and China, have nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
So we may have to fight them in a proxy war on the ground in various countries, not just in Asia, in Taiwan, for instance, but maybe we have to start fighting them in different parts of Africa. And then we're going to have we have to give arms to a group from a government in Africa, and then they're giving arms to a group in Africa to fight each other. It's a proxy war. Same thing with the Middle East.
Yeah.
Instead of having Russia having boots on the ground in Syria, maybe China might start sending boots on the ground in various Middle Eastern countries and set up shop and having military bases and airfields. So it's getting very dangerous. This relationship with China is getting very dangerous, and the current administration is losing that edge, the Biden administration, and they are very weak with their policies on China. We need to have a very serious nationalistic approach with China for our national security, both foreign and domestic. Number one, and I've said this many times, we have to stop Chinese nationals who are non-citizens buying up land in this country, whether that is farmland, real estate, or other assets. You have to live in this country, period. There needs to be a law. You have to be an American citizen to buy assets and real estate and land in this country, period. Not just for China, but specifically with China, we have to do that. Second, we have to ban H-1B visas with China and having their workers come here to work in our corporations. No. If the relationship gets more tense, we have to do that. Number three, we have to the federal government should seize Chinese nationals' money that are in bank accounts here in the United States. Okay? Number four, we have to potentially set up, if the relationship gets worse, we have to maybe set up a ban from people traveling from China to the United States. Okay? And the fifth thing is we also have to cut the student visas, students coming from China to American universities for education. We are getting to a point where that's going to happen. And the final point is any companies that are dabbling in IP, taking American intellectual property and stealing various, ideas, like the whole situation with TikTok, right? TikTok should be banned. Okay? TikTok should be banned and that should not even be allowed. Okay? So any Chinese company that's trying to dabble in IP and stealing secrets and things like that should be sanctioned immediately. The other thing I forgot to mention was tariffs. We need to bring back the Trump-era tariffs and taxes on Chinese goods and products tenfold. We need to bring that back times 20. Okay? I understand the economic ramifications, but this is why you need to bring manufacturing back to America so we don't rely on China so much. Okay? We need to attack them where it hurts, in their pocketbooks, with their economy. It might be hard for all of us, but we have to go through it in order to become victorious.
Yeah, I think that's the better way to go about it is do it in an economic warfare, I mean, we hold all the cards. We're where the demand is. We're the ones that are buying all the goods that are made over there. So it'd be really easy for us to just say, yep, we're not going to buy anything from China. Implement the tariffs, make it more expensive. That's how you kind of tweak supply and demand to make it economically feasible to bring people back, manufacturing back to the United States. One thing I'll say, just to close it up on it, is when a population of humans gets tilted too far to one side, let's say like there's too many men in that society becomes a very violent and unstable society. There's too many men, not enough women for everyone to go around. Those men that cannot get a partner are going to start becoming more and more desperate for that option. So what are the government's options in those cases? You stick them all in the military, get all these young men that are never going to find a wife anyway, put them in the military, and then you have a huge line of cannon fodder if you need to.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what China is probably going to do. I don't think they're going to go down without a fight, but hopefully it is internal, just power struggle within them.
Let's hope it's internal. Let's hope they have a civil war.
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping for with Russia, with this Wagner situation. I mean, no love for Wagner. Wagner, they're a bunch of mercenaries, rapists, killers, and things like that. The worst kind of crimes committed by these people in Ukraine. But it was very nice to see all the tense situations in Russia with the potential coup that was, deflated 24 hours later.
Yeah.
But I want something like that to happen in China. I want civil conflict to happen.
I would just like a quick uprising that takes out the government and then them dissolve free Tibet, free Hong Kong, have a free Taiwan.
Free Taiwan.
Let the government be run for the people by the people.
Yeah,
and I think that's
and get rid of this hostile influence that China's trying to implant in the other areas of Asia.
Yeah,
with the hostilities in the South China Sea. But anyways, folks, that's all the time we have today. We thank you again for bearing with us with the technological difficulties, and we'll be back next week with more episodes.
Thanks, y'all. Cheers.
Take care. Cheers.